Now we should be live on your channel, and it should be starting to build up on mine. Come on.
Come on.
Come on. Get going. What are you doing? No.
45. Who knew? Never heard of that.
I don't even know if I'm live or not. Okay. It says preview. Oh, it moved the button. There's the button now. Going live. Holy crap, that was an ordeal. Let's just play the frickin' intro.
Well, I'm already exhausted.
Yeah! Woo!
Uh-huh.
Yeah!
Yeah.
This is my jam! Ooh,
Oh.
yeah!
I'm not sure if you know this, but it sounds like Teletubbies have taken over your intro.
Way! Alright! I'm still pretty proud of that intro. Yeah, I'm still pretty proud of that. Welcome everyone to another special episode, a special Sunday episode of Modern Day Atheism, featuring me and what you will think is Kyle, but it's actually I have designed an AI that has sourced all of the things that Kyle has ever said. It listens to me for key phrases and it responds accordingly. You won't be able to tell the difference except for that Kyle has been replaced with a still image because I have not gotten down the 3D portion of that yet. So say hello, Kyle.
Hi. Hi, Jimmy. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. All hail the Pumpkin King.
Let me just update this a little bit here so it doesn't sound like I don't know what that sounds like it's sitting on a bunch of pine cones. All right, let's try that. Reboot.
Hi, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to be here on Sunday with you and Modern Day Atheism. I'm happy to be here.
Tell everyone your name.
That's not important.
Well, I thought you would come up with something funnier, to tell you the truth.
I tried. I literally tried there for those 2 seconds, and I came up with nothing.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
Not important.
no worries. We'll just skip right over it. I'm excited to get to calls, but I think I want to first say to anybody hit by the hurricanes this week, or who have family maybe, or whatever, you have my thoughts and prayers. No, I'm just kidding. But you do have my condolences, and hope you're all safe and happy, and that things are all fine for you. And I'm really, really sorry that what you've gone through has been so thoroughly undermined by having a president who is I think there's an official word for it. I think the official term is an idiot. Yeah.
That's one. There are many.
There are a great many. Did you see that he basically he had said, like, people of Alabama, start evacuating, like, you need to be prepared for this, but none of the models had any kind of significant effect. They would have gotten some rain, but it wouldn't have even been a tropical storm by then. And
are we even surprised at this point, though? Really, are we really surprised when he can't look at a map and tell where the hurricane's going to go? I was talking to you earlier before we went live that Seth Meyers did a beautiful montage of him 3 days ago saying, this thing's supposed to get Category 5. No one's ever heard of a Category 5. No one knew it existed. And at least 11 times in the past 3 years, he's had 3 hurricanes under his presidency that have hit Category 5. And he's sitting up here saying, no one's ever heard of a Category 5.
No one's heard of it. Listen, it's outrageous. No one ever knew it could be so intense. And this is totally, no one was prepared for this. Yeah, Donald, just because we can't say you never heard of it, just because you can't remember. And listen, I don't want to be too mean to him, because you don't fucking be an asshole to somebody with clearly dementia. But Anyway, he fucking, just because you think no one's heard of it doesn't mean we like all haven't. I had heard of Category 5. I remember when we first moved to Florida when I was a kid. I was around 9 years old. I think I was about to turn 9. And they were still talking about Hurricane Andrew, even though that had been 5 years prior, I think. Was it 94 or 92?
I think somewhere around there. But here's the thing, like, yes, we could let him off if this was the first time he said it. But if you go back year after year after year, the past 3 years, he has said no one's ever heard of a Category 5 at least 8 times. Like, he has said this every year. And the first time you say it, they have then now heard of the Category 5. You cannot anymore say no one has heard of the Category 5 anymore, especially when 3 hurricanes under your presidency have hit a fucking Category 5 level.
You know what the truth about Trump is? He probably considers it an accomplishment. He probably considers the fact that the hurricanes under him are worse than are stronger than hurricanes under any other president as an achievement. Like, look, this is how great America is strong. It's the strongest it's ever been. Even our hurricanes are strong. Okay, our hurricanes, the strongest anyone's ever seen. No one's ever seen one as strong as these. Part of it, so that's a joke. Part of what actually is happening is he wants to overplay whatever hand he's dealt, so that whatever response he does comes in, he meets expectations, or he set it up as an impossibility, even though it shouldn't be impossible.
I picture him. There's 2 things that I want to hit on before we move on from this topic. Number one, I picture him looking at the, in the war room, where they're looking at these maps of the projection of the hurricane, and the entire time he's just sitting there going, does this mean I get to throw paper towels again? Someone tell me, is it bad enough where I can throw paper towels? And number 2, did you see where Mike Pence had to go in his place in Europe? And he stayed 200 miles away from where those meetings were because he had to stay in a fucking Trump hotel.
He also, so after he said, I'm canceling my trip to Poland, we'll send Pence instead, next day he's on a golf course, and he gets called out for it and lashes out at, who was it? It wasn't the French president. It was, I can't. Oh, it was the mayor of London. I actually reported on this. I should have known this. The mayor of London was like, yeah, I'm sure that he's really fighting the hurricanes out on the golf course. And so Donald Trump is trying to attack him for not solving knife crime. Meanwhile, we have a fucking gun crime epidemic here. I don't know. Those in gold. Go ahead.
You can't write this stuff. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day about this. The sad thing is that none of these things that he does, he doesn't lose traction with his base, which is the middle of America, rural, usually people who, a lot of times the people who are in poverty, and the exact actions that he takes and the policies that he implements affects them the most. Yet they refuse to see that. They refuse to break away from somebody who is actively instituting policies that go against anything that would benefit them. And they sing his praises like he's the greatest president. There are literally people saying he's the greatest president we've ever had. Can you imagine being that deluded?
I can imagine, because I keep meeting them.
No.
Now I don't even have to imagine. They're just memories now.
Look at the economy, Jimmy. Look at the economy.
So Donald Trump this week, he actually, in trying to defend his thing about it hitting Alabama, even though they were going to get sprinkles, literally brought out a map trying to prove he was right, because this is the guy with the thinnest skin in the world, and if you say anything is wrong, he will just make up anything he has to try and humiliate you and prove, look how right I was, the lamestream media, blah 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 blah. And he brought out a map that had the projection on it, on which he drew with Sharpie another circle to hit Alabama. That is who this guy is.
I mean, that is cutting edge meteorology, Jimmy. Obviously, if you draw in where you want the hurricane to go, it's gonna go that way. I mean, you're talking about the same guy who the first thing that he did when after he took the oath of office was send his press secretary out to show pictures of the crowd that came to the inauguration with him and Obama. And we all saw that Obama was way bigger. But you have Trump and his minions looking at those same pictures going, you see here, this crowd is much bigger. And everybody can see that the opposite is true, yet no one bats an eye. Like, this is not, this has become everyday fodder now. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
To those who had mentioned earlier, I just wanted to say I today actually put some effort in. I put a heated brush through my hair and my beard, actually. And so that's, if you all like this somewhat straightened look, you can let me know. I actually prefer the wilder look. I think we should jump on to calls, yeah?
Yeah, can I announce something about the show?
Yeah, definitely.
So if any of you out there have not heard, NonSequitur is going to come to an end on September the 30th. That'll be the last show that we do. In the links, and I think Jimmy put it on his as well. You can find the new channel. I'm going off in a different direction. You can read about it there. I'm not going to go in depth on it. You can, in the coming weeks, I'll be going in more that direction. But you can check it out if you want to. Also, following this show, I will be in Discord for a little bit. So if you want to come hang out and chat, please meet me in the Hangout following the show.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. So the final episode of NonSequitur, but then you're launching a new channel, which is linked in the description on both of our things. And what's the focus of the new channel?
The focus of the new channel is, so as many people know, I used to be a chef. I'm really big into like the mindset and the history that comes with food. So I've partnered with a couple restaurants in Charlotte that are local, and I'm going to be spending a day there. Each week there'll be 2 videos uploaded, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and I will be going through the history of the locations, because a lot of these places, like the first one I'm going to, Haberdish, it's in a building that's stood there almost a century and a half. It was there through the wars. It was utilized as different things. So I'm going to be going through that. I'm going to be spending some time in the kitchen with the chef. We're going to be going through a couple of their feature items, and then I'm going to sit down with the owners to kind of go through what their inspiration was, where their concept came from, and it's going to be kind of food history and drinks all smashed into one.
Very cool. All right, on to our very first caller. This is, as with every first call, this is when we're testing if it's really working. Madeline, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hello. Is it Madeline or Madeline?
Madeline.
Madeline. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
No, I get it all the time.
Okay. Well, cool. What is so the subject today is, why are you still holding on? This could be to a religion, a spirituality, this thing where you're like, hey, generally I identify with atheism or secularism, but there's this thing I can't let go of. You can veer off of that a little bit, but what was the question you had that you wanted to ask about?
All right, so this is actually not about me, but my girlfriend. So I am a girl who grew up in Catholicism, recently started dating, and she has not had a good time mentally. She has had a couple of panic attacks during lunch and things like that. And it seems like it gets worse the more good times that we have, basically. And I think it would definitely get worse if, I were to break up with her or something. But I just have no idea how to help.
So, basically, is it that she's feeling guilty being happy in ways that her religion is opposed to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're feeling like that puts a lot of pressure on you in the relationship, because if you were to leave, it would kind of come crashing down on her pretty hard?
A little bit, yeah.
Has she acknowledged that she doesn't believe in the religion yet, or is it that she still does somewhat believe?
I can't entirely tell. There's been a lot of back and forth with her, I think.
Okay. I think with this, the first thing you have to find out is where she is, and once you've established that, that's where you work from. I mean, obviously, if you're doing things that it's kind of like I remember being basically young Mormon and hypocritical, and so I was doing things that were against the church, but I didn't drop my beliefs right away. So you do have to kind of figure out where it is she is, and like I said, work from there. That's honestly where I would start. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say, communication, I think, is absolute paramount. Like, you have to be upfront and honest with each other about where you stand, because you can kind of be there to guide her through whatever it is that she's going through. It sounds like she's going through something and not really communicating with you where that kind of stems from. And the key to any successful relationship is that both parties are talking and being upfront and honest with each other. So I think that would be your starting point, would be to sit down with her and get her to kind of open up to you, and make sure that you kind of come across like you're there for support and not to judge. And I think that she might be willing to be forthcoming that way.
Once you establish, though, whether or not she's still there or not, if she isn't, then it's the specific task of dealing with if she is feeling guilty about things that she doesn't even believe in. I made a video on my channel. I don't know where she is, so maybe she wouldn't be willing to watch it, but I made a video on my channel called How to Deal with Religious Guilt, or something like that. If you type in Mr. Atheist Religious Guilt, it'll be titled somewhat obviously. But the basis of it is, every time you identify you're having it, you need to basically evaluate it. You have to, and so the system that I suggest is one where you go, okay, I'm feeling guilty because I'm, for example, having sex. And then you take that statement farther. I'm feeling guilty because I'm having sex, and I was taught at church that makes me impure. And then you take that further. And I was taught at church that makes me impure based on this. And then you take it further, based on this, which I know isn't true because of this and this. And basically, you keep having this conversation where you repeat the line, the first bit, and you extend it out over and over again until you take this thing that really is just something that is sort of latent, and you can't get rid of it, and you kind of trivialize it because you already are starting from a place of it's not true, but your brain isn't identifying with that, and it's not gonna it starts helping right away, but eventually your brain just stops you from having to do the exercise because you've already trivialized this thing so much. So I recommend watching the video entirely. Go ahead, Kyle.
I would also too approach it in a way like, be sure to when you try to bring this up and kind of suss out where she's at, not come from it in a way that you're trying to take that away from her in any way if she's not ready. You can't expect people to come to where you are in either your deconversion or whatever faith that you have. So if you approach it in a way where you're just trying to understand, and it's okay if she still has those ties to Catholicism or whatever religion it may be, that's okay, and you're going to be there with her to that's not going to be something that is a deal breaker.
Yeah. whatever you do, shoot me an email with an update and stuff. Put in the subject line something like caller update. Hopefully people won't abuse that, and I'll keep a lookout for it. I hope we gave you enough to think about here, and hopefully something useful. Is there anything else before you go?
No, I just love you both of y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for calling.
I love you too. That
Absolutely.
was an excellent call, Jimmy. Kylebot is happy. By the way, you look extra dapper tonight.
Aw.
Dapper.
So
Dapper.
you like the straightened hair, I guess, Kylebot.
Dapper. I don't do straight. Very well at all.
No.
But
yeah.
I think that this is a good look for you.
Oh, thanks. The chat are talking about pumpkin flavored things a little bit down in the and first of all, I want to reveal something. So basic. I want to reveal something to all of you that many of you will become shooketh. Liking pumpkin spice lattes does not mean you like pumpkin, because there is no pumpkin in the spices. It's literally like it's the kinds of spices they put into pumpkin to make pumpkin more delicious. It's not actually pumpkin in it. So it's like nutmeg and cinnamon and I think a couple others. It's the pumpkin spices.
There you go, pissing on people's parade again. Why can't you just let people have it?
I'm going to make it even.
People have the pumpkin.
I'm going to make it even worse. With all of these pumpkins behind me, I will tell you, I like some pumpkin stuff. But even when it comes to pie, if I'm the one picking the pie, I virtually never pick pumpkin. That was a lot of sounds. I never pick pumpkin. I never pick pumpkin pie.
I think anybody would, though.
I think a lot of people love this time of year because pumpkin pie is the time. I do like pumpkin bread, though, a lot, actually. But pumpkin pie, meh.
Sweet potato pie, pecan, apple, cherry, blueberry.
Yeah.
There's so many in line before pumpkin.
I love pecan pie. I'm not a big apple pie fan. There's something about the texture of the apples in the apple pie that the flavor's fine. I just don't much like apple pie texture.
That's because you're communist and not American.
I'll tell you, I love dessert pies. I love like peanut butter and chocolate kind of pie things. Yeah, I love those.
What about chicken pie?
Like chicken pot pie? Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Remember our mutual friend who, because of his good Christianity, he gets all the chicken pot pies he ever wants because he just tells his wife and anytime she's ready to take his pumpkin pot pie command.
What?
You know who I'm talking about? Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't want to give this person more attention, but we've engaged with him on Twitter. He called in to talk heathen. I made a video about his stupid tweets talking about how he's won 400 debates. It's 400-0.
Oh, look, listen.
Yeah.
I was having an amazing night.
Yeah.
And it just tanked.
Yeah.
Right there. Look, because we brought him up like this, he is
Bad
now
night.
473-0.
Yeah, the score has changed a few times, by the way.
I'm sure.
But that happens on Twitter. I've seen a lot of people just randomly changing numbers. I don't know, like things like 400
easy to happen when the numbers
to 500.
Don't mean shit anyway.
Yeah. 30,000, 60,000, 90,000, 120,000. I've seen lots of numbers moved around. That's kind of an inside joke here. Let's jump to the next call in the queue, and we will talk to Ray. Ray, no Star Wars spoilers. I don't want to know who your parents really were. I don't want to know if you're the last Skywalker. I'm sure you're tired of that joke. What did you call for?
That's actually the first time I've actually heard that joke, so
okay.
Good job.
Well, that's
me too.
Original content here on
sorry.
Mr. Atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super hard to find it on YouTube nowadays, anyways.
Shade!
Anyways, so basically I just called because of the thing where it's while you're still holding on, and essentially it's just mainly the reason why I do is because of the fact that I still have to go to church, and it's kind of a thing where it's even though I don't listen to it, it still kind of gets inside of your head and inside of your brain.
And it's very true.
It just kind of gets, it gets lodged in a place, and you just kind of it's kind of hypnosis kind of.
Hypnosis.
I
Yeah.
don't really know how to speak.
You're good.
Yeah.
Can I ask real quick? What parts do you like continue to hold on to, or which parts affect your life the most? Like, which ones can't you shake?
I think just like the idea that there's someone you could always depend on and stuff, and like that God's always going to be there for you or whatever, is just kind of like something that really appeals to me as a person.
Yeah.
So not being able to like not actually understanding that isn't a thing is kind of like uncomfortable for me.
Sure.
So, a few things. First of all, you're right about the hypnosis thing. In fact, this was something that when I first left Mormonism, I realized, and I started telling other people, like, hey, just stop going to church for a little bit. Like, if the church is true, it's going to be just as true if you take a month or two off. Something about it doesn't happen after missing 1 week. It doesn't usually happen after 2 weeks. But somewhere in the third or fourth week, maybe even the fifth week, you start to really realize, like, I don't feel worse without my church. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like, and then you start to realize, like, when you go back, those days you start to feel crappier because you're like, oh, right. The whole thing is that you gather in what people are calling love, but in reality you just feel a shit ton of guilt because that's what this is it's a cycle of reminding you to, if you have doubts, you're shitty. If you don't feel guilty, you're shitty. And, like, we just need to get you back here so we can get a new wave of guilt into you. And so that was something I realized early on, is like the first thing you can do to help somebody is convince them to go to church less, because it's hard to see the appeal of no church if you're still going. Now, you said your parents are forcing you to go. Obviously, I'm not saying this makes any of it your fault, but when you actually have that control yourself and you get to make some of those decisions yourself, I would highly suggest just start skipping, at first. If you feel like you have to still go, skip 1 a month, and then 2 a month, and then take a whole month off. And you'll start to find, like, as you're building community other places, you're making friends out of there, you're actually listening to other people's experiences, you're learning that these things that in church you just thought were, like, obviously evil, guaranteed evils. A lot of my political biases stuck with me even, and they even came from church. Like, because Mormons, a lot of them, and certainly where we were and growing up in my family, are largely politically conservative. And so, yeah, it's something that you, listen, if there's a bit of advice anybody watching right now that's kind of on the fence and is really stressed about it that I can give, don't go to church. It's not going, if the church is true, it'll still be true if you decide to go back, but take some time off.
And I'm going to give you advice coming from it with the fact that you're being forced to go. While you're there, learn everything that you can. Ask questions. Don't waste that opportunity, because later on in your life, when you're having these, if you ever get into these kind of conversations where you're, having to explain why you either left faith or why you remained there, you can turn this into something that's extremely valuable. Sit there and take mental notes and ask questions. The one thing that will give you the biggest indicator on, like, what kind of path you're on is how people respond to those questions. So while you're sitting there, use it for good and come up with questions to kind of guide you on your journey, whether you remain in faith or not.
You do have to be cautious with that, though, too, because churches respond to nothing as hostile more than questions. And you do have to be cautious to not set them on guard and make them think you need triple and quadruple. I mean, in the Mormon church, if I had asked every question I wanted to in seminary, they'd be sending me to the bishop, and they'd be basically trying to just brainwash the fuck out of me.
But here's my point on that, though. Like, if that's the case, then that is a big, huge blinking light right in front of your face. There is no reason why any establishment that claims to have the truth should be afraid of any kind of questions. And if you are in a situation where they're shying away from that, or they're making you feel some kind of way, then I think that's going to be a big indication on you needing to kind of maybe adjust when you're able to, that'll be a good indication of whether you need to stay there or not.
Yeah, there's that, and that works when there's an equality of power. But so many times they will just shame you into the thing that's dangerous is these shame cycles that will compel you to stay even though you don't believe. Are you okay over there, Ray? Ray, if someone's found you out and you need to hang up, totally okay. Oh, I think they did. That's I think that's what actually happened here.
Great.
Yeah, it looks like they had to hang up. But Ray, hopefully when you watch back and you listen to the advice here, hopefully that's useful for you. I agree.
Let her go.
Asking questions is going to be something that's going to help, but do be very, very careful, because the last thing you want to realize is in 10 more years you asked a bunch of questions and got brainwashed and shamed out of them.
I love it when we disagree. I'm going to say, fuck that. Ask the daring questions. Dare to ask the questions.
I think that that's irresponsible to say with fuck that. I'd say ask questions, but don't, especially if you are a part of a group that the church isn't crazy about, like women or queer or anything, because the shame cycles that they will have as they bring in your parents, they bring in your family, all these people badger you, you start to cry, then they're offering you these extensions of what seem like emotional affection and not answers. I grew up in a cult. I know the way these people work, and challenging them to a battle of wits, one versus the masses, not a good idea.
Aren't you like in some ways in that case giving in, like, because of the fear of the sort of like I guess power that they seem to project? Like it seems like you would be giving, like, you're letting them pressure you into not asking the questions that you have, and I think that's just wrong.
I think you can get the questions answered, but it almost sounds like you're suggesting it's not giving into the power, it's identifying the power they have. And again, this is how cults work. If you, the one person, show doubts. I remember I was just upset about something with my brother and ended up being so mad and saying I hate him and I never want to be around him again, and which, funny enough, as an adult, I decided to cut him out of my life too. But that was used to make me feel terribly guilty, to make me feel like a piece of shit about myself. Yeah. This whole religious thing, they brought in church leadership, and because of the gossip mill, it got around. So you're talking about you being
I have no doubt there.
One meek teenager against all of the adults that you're supposed to have trusted, and these people being the authority figures in your life. I'm just saying you have to be careful, because at a certain point, if they start to realize you don't believe or you doubt, they will, like with the word hypnosis over there, basically try to badger your brain into and just like with hypnosis isn't real. You're not under a real spell. You act toward the expectation and the performance because you feel compelled to do so, and that's the exact thing that happens.
But that's assuming that we're talking in every aspect about these cults. She could be going to your generic run of the mill Methodist Baptist church that will probably just give you some printout pre-done answer and not go to the aspects of the shaming aspect. I think you have to. I think you're right in a sense that you have to understand in what situation that you're in. Like if you're in a situation where you're going to, potentially lose support of your family, and you depend on them, and that's going to put you in an unsafe environment, then absolutely, you have to not go that route. But
it's not only cults though that extend those ginormous social consequences. So I agree. Know the environment you're in. I'm not saying don't ask questions. Definitely do. Information is always good. You might be able to find information, though, on your own without having to risk, because most of these people places have red flags, without having to risk red flagging yourself to these religious people that are going to think it is their responsibility to save you from the pit of hell.
Maybe. I guess it's all going to come down to the type of, the type of person or the individual that we're talking to. I say there should be no barrier to asking a question. I get the social construct, but
ideally,
it's definitely
I hope so.
a difficult. Yeah, it's definitely a difficult.
All right, let's get Hannah in here. Hannah, tell Kyle how you disagree with him and I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to say any of that. Hannah, what did you want to talk about here?
Hi. I actually agree with you more, Mr. Atheist, about that. I was raised in a very strict Protestant church, and I asked a lot of questions, and it got me in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah,
but
aren't you? Let me ask you this though:
about.
Aren't you smarter now, though? Like, didn't that wake you up to a realization that there is something going on if questions make people react in that way?
What happened is that I was socially bullied for it, and because I was raised in a household where, like, when you did something wrong, you were, like, spanked, I just, like, I did something wrong, I probably shouldn't do that. And it wasn't until years afterwards when I went on my own and asked questions in a more safe environment that I was actually able to break away. I wish I had kind of waited to ask the questions when I was actually in a safe place to ask it.
Well, even if Hannah had said, yes, actually, from that experience, I learned this and this, and it led to me breaking out, that still wouldn't actually mean that if you could go back and take a different approach where you didn't have to deal with that social fallout, guilt, shame, because those are the things that those were the things making me suicidal all the time. So in that scenario where I'm going like, no, by doing it that way, I risked not being alive today. I think even if Hannah here had said like, for sure, it was like totally worth it. That doesn't mean we wouldn't want to go back and take the approach more.
Well, I think I should clarify. I think I should clarify though. If you're the type, like if you're in a situation where you feel like suicidal or you feel like you're going to get ganged up on or bullied, then you have to adjust to the situation. I'm just saying as a blanket statement. Of course, I'm not. If this makes you feel in a way that's in any way affecting you negatively, then you would be the type of person that didn't take that step to ask the questions. But I'm just saying, as a general statement, we should be allowed to ask questions.
Definitely.
I think we all agree.
You should be allowed to ask questions. The reality is that often isn't the case.
Yeah, we're just going to pile on you now. No, no more dog.
I can't argue there.
No more dog. Well, we won't dog pile on Kyle anymore. What was your question? I think we already won.
I love it.
We already won. What's the point of me winning 90 more times? Go ahead, Hannah.
All right. The reason for me calling is, as I mentioned, I came from a very strict Protestant home, and one of the things we were taught, I was like homeschooled till a later age of my life. We were taught that the only way we would have a purpose is if God was in our life. That God had created us for purpose, on purpose, that type of mentality. And when I eventually broke away, I'm now an atheist going on 2 years now, is that I now felt suddenly stripped of a purpose. And, well, I still haven't gotten rid of that feeling. I still feel like I'm kind of like in a pit of despair. And, of course, I kind of have like a biased view of this because I have major depressive disorder, so that, puts a bit of a lens on things. But I still feel kind of my life has no purpose, really.
Right.
There is no reason for me to continue doing stuff.
It's part of the scam of religion, and it's part of the indoctrination, because the biggest lie they're going to teach you, they're going to approach you like it's not you. They're going to come in and say, listen, you're amazing because you did see this truth and you did find the purpose. But all of these people on the outside, they're miserable, they're chasing their sin, they're garbage, bad people, and if you leave that, you become them, and that's the way you internalize it. The beautiful thing, and it's going to take some time, and I promise, if you let it take some time and you try and get there, you'll find it. It's once you acknowledge basically what could be called, I think, universal nihilism, that purpose as in a why and a drive and things like that, don't intrinsically exist. There isn't an inherent purpose to our life. That means you get to decide what your purpose is. So the difference is, when I grew up as a Mormon, I grew up hearing, this is what you will do. You will go on a mission. Your purpose is to serve God. Your purpose is to do this. I had an identity crisis after I lost my faith, but I also lost the person I was in love with. I had an engagement that broke up. There was this huge identity crisis. I was spending literally days at a time in a row, just basically in tears, trying to figure out, like, what the fuck am I even doing here? Why am I here? And you get to some really low places, and you get to some dark places, and you start thinking about things that seem simpler and seem easier. But I can tell you that once you get past it, once you get through it, I always recommend therapy to people because it can be so useful and it can be so helpful. And you actually find, like, the fuck you, it's kind of a moment of fuck you. I don't care what a bunch of old dudes decided my life should be about fucking 2,000 to 4,000 years ago, and now another old dude is trying to tell me what they meant by all of that. I'm here for me. I live for me. I live for the people I love. I'm here for the people I love, and I'm going to make my purpose surrounding that. So the people I love, I mean, you can see it in my channel. I go to bat fighting for LGBTQA+, or GRSM, the GRSM community, because those are my people. These are the people I love and I care about the most. And the purpose I feel when we succeed, especially at something, but even just in the work, not only with success, the purpose I feel doing that, or before I did my channel, as a photographer, the purpose I felt going out and expressing myself artistically. I mean, education and the why, and the fact of the matter is, most of these people aren't living the actual religion they say they believe. They're not living it to the T. They're not fundamentalists, which is a redeeming quality. And in reality, we're all making our own purpose in life. We're all setting our own priorities. But you have the privilege and the opportunity to know that, to acknowledge it, and to say, I've decided I want to make my life about this because these are my values, these are the people I love, and this is what I care about. My purpose is mine. Fuck you, Bronze Age, or whichever ages those whole books were. You didn't know that germs existed. I don't need your advice.
And I would tag on to that to say that you can't let them take away that important aspect of your life. And I've been where you are, and it, like, you're touching my heart, you're pulling my heartstrings right now, because I have been there, where you just kind of feel like once you get through the belief and you don't really believe anymore, you're kind of left wondering, okay, well, I've spent so much time of my life dedicated to this, entity, to this religion, to this belief, and when you're not in that anymore, you just kind of feel lost. But the beauty of that moment, and this is something that you have to, it's going to take time, and it's not going to be easy, but it's something that you are in total control of, and that is the exact opposite of what was laid out before in whatever religion that you were a part of. That they defined what your purpose was. Your purpose was to be a being that worshiped the Creator, or whatever goes along with whatever religion you're part of. But now you get to define what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want your life to be. And if you can tune into that purpose and to try to align with it, set small goals so that whatever your vision is plays out to that purpose, because you can't let them take away that from you. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to be so that once you doubt or you start to kind of pull away, it's reminding you, well, there's not going to be any purpose for you now. There's not going to be any future for you now. And that's a way to kind of keep you in. I would say this, there's a quote, and I'm paraphrasing now, but it says something like the path to our destinations is not always a straight one, Sometimes we go down the wrong roads. We get lost. Maybe it doesn't matter which road we embark on, but what matters is that we embark. So you have to keep doing, and even if it's little by little, step by step, minute by minute, hour by hour, you don't have to take big leaps. Just take it a day at a time and really concentrate on what it is that makes you happy and what it is that you can use to amplify that in your life and really find your place. And the thing is, there's a lot of people that feel exactly like you do. And the beauty of the internet is that you can connect to those people, whether it be the different communities that you have. There's all kind of Discord servers, mine, Jimmy's. You can connect to people that feel exactly how you do, and maybe you can work together to try to piece that road back together. But you have to continue on that road. You can't let them take that away from you.
And never underestimate the value of a good fuck you, because that got me through a lot of stuff where I was just like having such a problem finding my own identity, finding my own self, realizing that it was old teachers and old things I had learned, and literally being in a place of despair where I decide I want to try and change my mood, and I would start it with like a no, fuck you. My genitals are my own. I refuse to feel guilty about this. Things like that. Hannah, do we still have you?
Yeah, you still have me. I was just thinking about what you said, and thank you so much. For some reason, it never occurred to me that I could just, I don't know, choose my purpose. It just never occurred to me, I suppose.
You know what's funny is
take back control, girl.
You should look up nihilism, because a lot of people think nihilism is all cynical nihilism, where it's the universe has no purpose, so what the fuck ever. But there's actually forms of nihilism that is literally the universe has no purpose, and that's fucking beautiful because we get to decide. So I really, really recommend look up nihilism, and there's a specific word that goes before it. If you go over to the live chat, by the time you get there, I'm sure people would be like, that's called specifically, it might have been universal nihilism. I can't remember exactly what it is. I also got distracted because people were asking me about if I like goths, and I do. So that was that was going on in the live chat. But I'm sure people will correct it. But yeah, these are schools of thought. I'm not a particular individual who goes and studies a bunch of philosophy. But if it's something that's helpful to someone, then you might find that it's helpful for you. Yeah.
Write your own school of thought.
All right.
Cool. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't think I'm going to have any big overarching goals for now, but maybe I'll start small, maybe be able to move out somewhere nice, maybe get a girlfriend one day. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
There you go.
For sure.
See,
hey,
this.
listen.
You got this.
Listen. Same. I'm sitting here the same, where I'm just I'm focusing on my local stuff, my career, my channel, the stuff right now, and hopefully one day I'll get a significant other. Maybe. I feel like I keep making jokes about being alone on Twitter, and I think people are starting to really get worried about me, and I'll be fine, everybody. I might have been going through a little stint where I was like, it'd be nice if there was someone else in my studio sometimes, but I'll be fine. I'll be okay. I actually am working on some in-studio collabs, though not with people I'm romantically interested in, here coming in the near future. I'm finally going to get to introduce you all to somebody that I had mentioned in the past who is themselves a trans woman activist who I just like as a person, and she's going to begin here doing some shows with me. There's going to be some great stuff. One person has suggested that I might have been talking about optimistic nihilism. That doesn't, whatever term I'm thinking of, I know I've heard before, and I don't think that's the one, but it probably would get you there. But anyway, thank you very much, Hannah.
All right, thank you very much for answering my question. I feel that about being alone, but hopefully with time we'll both find someone.
Oh, okay.
You got this.
Yeah. I feel like I'm throwing up more red flags. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Kyle, I am curious. How do you feel about goths?
I don't mind. I don't mind goths at all. With me, like I have a very simple way that I deem that I don't like someone, and that is if you're a dick or you try to tell someone else who or what they can be. To me, the more diverse and the more somebody expresses themselves as an individual, the more I love. Because number one, it takes somebody of a strong mindset to deviate away from what's considered normal, and I admire that. And two, if they're able to do it in a way that is individualistic and just tailored to them, I think that's fantastic. So I think it's absolutely great.
I actually, along those lines, I feel like you and I both, because we talked about this early on and realized we both had a shift where you and I both, I think, had some not presuppositions, but we were both predisposed, so I guess predispositions, to be very wary of furries. And now I feel like our view on furries, while not being furries ourselves, has evolved tremendously. Right. Like, they're first people. Of all, they're so nice. I actually kind of enjoy when people make me a fursona picture where they're like, this is what Jimmy would look like if he was like a lion furry. I kind of love that stuff. And the same thing you're talking about. The fact of the matter is, like, I think one of my own hang-ups before that was, despite feeling like a very sexually free person, I think I was internalizing that there were people who were more sexually free than me, and so I just was suspicious of them. And we have to be.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, not that all furries are in it for sexual things. There are some that aren't.
Sure.
But
I was going to say that I think we have to be honest with ourselves in the fact that a lot of times when it's something that is like starkly new or something that is we've never thought about or never heard of, we have this tendency to deem it as weird or strange. And the one thing since I've been doing YouTube that has really been beneficial for me, I was the same way. I was that way with furries and bronies. It was something that I didn't understand, but through meeting these people, they're amazing people. And so what if they like to dress up in the fur outfits? That's harming no one, and they feel a part of a community, and they're able to express themselves, and I think that is fantastic. So
but back to goths, I understand that I look like an accountant who bowls. I feel like that. I think that kind of summarizes my body type. I mean, now I look more like a 2,000-year-old carpenter, but
a drummer.
Hey, that works too. I understand that that's but for some reason, I just have this goth, emo, scene, punk, all of those things. I love artificial hair colors. Yeah. And the question specifically was, do I like emo girls? It is not restricted at all to girls.
Yourself.
But emos or goth girls, rather. And to whoever asked, I think it was up above, you don't have to put it in the DMs. You can tag me if you've got a goth look that you're like. I mean, I don't care if you send it to my DMs too, but if you got a goth look that you want to show off and be like, I am goth supreme, you can tag me, and I'll if I see it on social media, I'll do my best. Yes, I love. It hurts me when I see a goth person that I'm just like, you're perfect, and now I'm too frightened to speak to you. Anyway, we're going to push through these. We got 4 more calls, even though we, in theory, should have been ending the call portion in about 5 minutes. But we'll get through them and then super chats and call it a night. But these are looking good. Ella, I'm actually particularly excited to talk to you, Ella. Also, to let my call screener know, we're not taking new calls anymore, so you can drop off now. Thank you very much for screening calls. Everybody in the live chat, please thank Darchi and all of the other mods who are here, Girlhead, TARDIS Chick, and any others that I might have missed, because the mods are amazing. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Darchi, for handling the call screening. People, please do express your gratitude, because they make everything amazing.
And I would like to say, I obviously am having some technical issues tonight, so I cannot in express that thanks as well in the live chat. But thank you, mods on my channel. I love you all, and I will read these super chats tonight on the next non-sec show, or we can discuss them in Discord later. But I'm having an issue where I can't get to them and be in the call at the same time. So yeah,
I've got people warning me about the influx of goth photos I'm about to get. Listen, that is not a problem I am worried about having. I embrace it. Apparently there's just going to be lots coming. Sorry, Ella. Anyway, Ella, what do you think about goths?
Goth?
Yeah, goths. People with the goth look. Are you a goth, Ella?
I'm not a goth. I just don't care how people dress.
Cool.
Good answer.
I just love them. I love everybody, but yeah, I got a special place in my heart. Anyway, Ella, what was your question?
First of all, I've been a fan of your channel since before the Pumpkin Saga, and
Very cool.
I think you're really cool.
Thank you.
So I'm 14 and I'm a lesbian. I figured it out a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I'm also questioning my gender identity. But I used to live in Pennsylvania, and I encountered people who didn't accept that. And I still do, but less frequently because I live in a more northern state now. How would you, how do you respond to people who, constantly just spit out the same argument and just ignore my point and don't even try and talk my point of view?
I want to think for a minute about this before I answer. So Kyle, I'm going to let you start. I want to give I have a general idea of where I want to take this, but I know if I word it poorly, people are going to be mad at me. So I want to get it right.
Let me be the crude one here. I would tell them to fuck off. Your happiness doesn't hinge on anybody else's opinion of you, and if they can't respect you enough to either listen to you or to be respectful to you or to accept you for who you are, then fuck them.
So, yes. The first thing is going to be, it sounds like what you are talking about are people who are unwilling to listen. And the honest reality to people who are unwilling to listen is that until they're ready to listen, you probably are doing more harm to your case by trying to get through to them at times. I mean, there are ways to get through. Things I would suggest if you really want to try, and these are people you really care about, people you have to see. One thing that I have gotten better at in literally the recent months, and even though I've been recommending it for a long time, ask more questions than you answer. Let them reveal their own ignorance, and let them realize that they don't know all the things. I would highly recommend, even though it's going to teach you more about religious stuff, how to deal with religious people, you'll figure out ways to apply it to other things. And I would highly recommend you look into street epistemology just in how to deal with people who are claiming to be sure about something that they can't possibly be sure about. I am a person who's wary of street epistemology because it can kind of get a little bit, it can start to feel a little too much like a religion from time to time, in the way that it can be implemented, in the way it's kind of treated like the ultimate destroyer, and it's not. But I also know people who are amazing people. Anthony Magnabosco, I would call a friend. We're friendly. We've had some interactions. We DM each other every now and then. And he does his channel specifically, Anthony Magnabosco. Just watch him. He will go out with a GoPro and he'll set up on a trail, like a hiking trail, and just, if people want to talk to him, he just asks them questions about what they believe. But one of the things that you'll learn is how to ask more questions than you're answering, and let people volunteer even. They will volunteer the things they realize they don't know. So if you have to be in those environments, and if you have to talk to those people that way, let people reveal their own ignorance when it's a situation where they're not even listening to you talk. They're not, and because just consider that kind of person. No, it's this way. It's this way. It's this way. They're making a lot of assertions, but they're not answering a lot of questions. So the moment you go, okay, if it is that way, if it is true that sex and gender are the same, what are the definitions of each? Why is that the case? Why is blah, blah, blah? Because these are the kinds of questions that I get all the time, or these are the kinds of assertions I have to fight back against all the time. And so you just ask the questions where they have to explain in the terms of what they are saying. So if they're making a scientific claim, they need to justify it scientifically. Then you will find that it goes a lot further.
I'm just happy that Jimmy finally said, ask the questions. Which is really what we've been saying all night. Make sure that you ask the questions.
That's cute that you're trying to pretend it's the same thing.
Inaudible.
Self-destruct. Ella, is that at all helpful?
Yes, thank you. And also, hold on. I just want to say hello to my friend Bree, who is texting me and wanted me to mention her. Because she was watching. Hi, Bree.
I'm gonna blow.
Thank you,
I'm gonna blow their mind right now. Bree, hello. How are you today? Listen, that thing you did earlier today that you're feeling a little bit guilty about. I don't know. You stole a pencil, something. Whatever that thing is, it's okay. You're still a good person. Learn from the experience. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, hi, Bree. I tried to make it weird. It got weird. Thank you very much for calling in, Ella.
Thank you for accepting the call. I'm literally shaking.
No worries at all. No worries. Have a good night. All right. We're going to go to... okay. Okay. I don't have a name, so from the 248 area code, what did you want to ask?
Hi, I want to speak to...
You're breaking out really terribly. I can't, I mean, I'm not even getting every other word. Do you think you could maybe move around? Yeah.
How long did it take to make that AI?
The Kyle AI?
At its beginning.
Yeah. I started the day I met Kyle. It was very difficult to build. It took a lot of, here's the thing. Every time you think you've gotten the contrarian program down, it has to one-up to you by being contrary to the contrarian program. So perfecting the contrary nature of Kyle for the Kyle AI that has been speaking this whole time, it's almost a paradox because its natural reaction to its programming is contrarian. And, you know, we'll still get there. It's not perfect yet, but it was ready for debut today.
Okay. Does Kyle know about it? Or did he know about it?
No, Kyle actually hasn't been on the internet in 8 months, but people don't know that. Kyle left everything 8 months ago. I've been running this AI as a test. It's kind of been my own Turing test. Isn't that right, Kyle Bot? Nothing, Kyle Bot? I think Kyle Bot shut down.
Step up your game, bitch.
There we go. That's Kyle Bot. Very sitcom-y. Thank you for calling in. I read the note of what you were going to ask, and I decided I wanted to take it. Yeah, cue laugh track. I need one of those. Any other question you had, or just about the AI?
Just about the AI.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. Christine wants to piggyback off of Ray's call, and Christine.
Are you able to hear me, Jimmy?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay.
Christine,
hi.
I appreciate the call. Let's not go too aggressively in once again dogpiling on Kyle. Keep it clean, keep it cool. Yeah, Kyle wants it. Never mind. Go full out. Take it down.
Bring it.
I think that it's honestly a shame, especially, I live in South Carolina, and one thing that you really see in a lot of churches is people aren't educated from the ground up with Christianity. And it's honestly a shame whenever you are somebody who does ask questions, because sometimes it's not even people shaming, it's that people genuinely don't know. And it's sort of, it really does stink for them. Yeah. And
I agree.
I know, like, I watched your channel for, I think I actually found you this summer. So it hasn't been very long, but I do actually appreciate, like, a lot of the questions that you ask and a lot of the stuff that you do, because even though I am still a Christian, I think that it's good to question, and it's good to, like, that's one thing that I hate, is not being allowed to question and not being allowed to say, this is why I believe what I believe. And I actually really appreciate the way that you defend other people and other people's beliefs and other people's rights to question. And I don't know,
Sure.
I just really wanted to say that. Like, I really wanted to say a big thank you to you for that.
All the night.
So here's what I want to ask, and I promise I'm not setting you up for a big fighter debate or anything like that. Ideally, if this call goes perfectly, you'll have more to think about after, and I'll have more to think about after. What is it about Christianity that holds you in believing it's true?
I'm probably going to sound like such a stereotypical person, so I apologize. Honestly,
no worries.
I really did have a period where I questioned for quite a while, because I didn't see any evidence of it. A lot of what people were saying just sounded like complete and utter gibberish, but because I was actually suicidal for a while, and it's something that I'm still struggling with, actually, being a college student and the workload and everything. And I honestly, I had experiences that I wasn't able to ignore, I suppose. I suppose it could be someone else that might not be religious could say, oh, these are just things that, coincidences or things that happen. But I had people surrounding me, and I had a weird experience that I can't really explain. I was very close, and I don't want to get into explicit details, because it is.
You don't have to, because my response, whatever if the details are very private to you and they feel very personal, my response to you is probably going to be the same anyway. So you don't have to get into anything you feel uncomfortable sharing. I encourage you to share as much as you're comfortable with, but you don't have to share anything beyond that line.
Of course, and I definitely appreciate that. That is one thing that I actually really appreciate about your channel. And you defending God is great, is something that I really appreciate as well. Girl Defined, definitely not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah.
It's just terrible, but
right.
But anyway, I'm so sorry I got off topic. But genuinely for me, and I know that I probably sound so stereotypical, it was things that I couldn't ignore, and how I can't remember if it was Ray or the person after her that she said she finally found purpose outside of religion. I genuinely did quit church, and I quit being involved with any sort of God for a while, and I was not at peace. I couldn't, it wasn't even the fact that it had been something that was routine, because I broke that. I wasn't going to church for months. It was experiences that brought me back, and not even my parents, it was other people in my life that really didn't have to be there for me and were there for me in a way that it wasn't shameful. And
sure.
I suppose my experience isn't the same as everybody else's, and I admit that. And I hate that the church has had such a history with shame, and especially I can't even name half the terrible things the church has done. It's awful, and I hate that for a lot of people. I understand that my experience with the church is not like everybody else's.
let me ask you a couple of questions here. So you are a part of a Christian religion, yeah?
Oh, yes, sir.
Would you agree that if your Christianity is correct, that it would make other religions not correct, like Islam or Hinduism, that for yours to be correct, it would exclusively be your religion that was correct?
That's really interesting. See, I think, personally, I don't like to think that way, but I suppose that is sort of the thing. I believe that people are entitled to believe what they're going to.
Oh, like, sure. And
I'm not gonna.
I believe that too, for the record. I believe everyone gets to believe, but as just a matter of fact, just the way reality would work, if your religion is true, it can't be that your religion is true and Hinduism, for example, or Islam, or could also be true. Is the core question here? Because I totally agree. Everyone is entitled to believe whatever they want, as long as they're not harming other people with those beliefs.
Mm-hmm. But I suppose I would have to agree with you there, and I know you've probably got another argument. Honestly, I'm not as schooled in debate as you, so I will admit this there.
This isn't debate. This is my line of questioning that is just meant to make you think, and it's not going to be to embarrass you, or I'm not leading you to like oh, Jimmy schooled Christine. It's none of that.
I completely.
So the next question I have then is, I have met personally Hindus, I have met Muslims, I have met Mormons, I have met people from tons of different sects of Christianity. I've met Buddhists who all tell me that the reason why they're religious is that they took some time off of it, or they went away, they decided to consider it. Some of them will even make the claim, I had gone full-blown atheist. And then they had a series of experiences that were very, very spiritual. And essentially, with the strongest cases, they'll say, and God told me, go back because that church is true, or that mosque is teaching the truth, or whatever the equivalent is. Go back to temple, go back to whatever. And their experiences, when they tell the story, you think, wow, if I had that experience, that would be extremely significant. But because none of these religions can be true at the same time, they can't all be. They can all be wrong, and one could be true. So the question is, if the options are only one of these is correct, and now we'll add yours to the pile, if of all the ones I've met so far, one of them can be correct, or none of them can be correct, by what process should I go about to find out whether or not your experience, which sounds very similar to their experience, validates your religion, or is it things like confirmation bias and just validating what you were told to expect and wasn't? I mean, we don't even have to go that deep. If all of you have had these significant spiritual experiences that tell you that all of your religions are true, but the religions can't all themselves be true at the same time, by what process do we figure out who is wrong about their spiritual experiences?
That's quite interesting. That is actually, you made me really, that makes me really think a lot. Honestly, I believe that God can, and this is not a popular Christian belief by any means, I believe that God can speak to people in different ways. I believe that maybe not everybody's meant to believe the same sect of Christianity or even the same religion that I am. And people are led to where they're supposed to be. If somebody is meant to be Hindu or Buddhist or Muslim or Islamic, I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit nervous and my terminology is
a
little bit off.
You're fine.
I believe if that's where they're supposed to be, I hate saying the grand scheme of things, that's just so cliched, but if that's where they're meant to be, and that's where they feel like God or whomever is leading them, then I'm not here to tell them otherwise.
So by Christian, real quick, because I need clarification on that. By Christian, do you simply mean that you accept Christ to be a really significant prophet? Because what you just described is, it sounds like a beautiful sentiment. I don't believe it's true, but I could handle living in a world of people that are that compassionate. However, you couldn't really claim you believe in the Bible and believe what you just said. Because the Bible invented the word infidel, not the Quran. The Bible talks about how to treat people who don't believe. The Bible talks about being exclusive truth and taking that truth to others. So is your Christianity a pure living by a Christ philosophy, or is it an acceptance of the Bible as a reality for a history book?
Oh, I by no means believe my Christianity to be pure. My theology is by no means 100% valid or anything. I personally,
but is the Bible true?
I still have a lot of things. I do believe that the Bible was God-inspired, but I do think that there are ways that humans tend to corrupt the Bible, because if the Bible is God-inspired, it goes through people, obviously. And I know that this is going to bring around another subject of debate, that how can we believe anything that the Bible does say? And I'm actually because I really want to learn a little bit more about this. I'm actually taking a hermeneutics class at my college I want to know more about why people think the Bible is true and things like that.
Let me ask you, can we get to something real, like one of the real basics of the Bible? Are the 10 Commandments true? Did God inspire those? Okay, so...
I would say God inspired.
So how can a person have God's purpose to be a Hindu? How can it be God's purpose for a person to be a Hindu if that violates the first and most important commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me?
Honestly,
I hear the thinking. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're thinking.
Actually, something I really do appreciate, because you're actually getting me to question, and I love that. Let me think. You've given me a lot to think about. I think that I wish that
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
The question I have asked, if you haven't already researched it yourself, is certainly going to take research. So maybe research and do the same thing I suggested earlier. Send me an email, in the subject line, type call or follow-up. And if you want to have this conversation continued in another call on air, or if you want to talk, email back and forth off air, I'd be happy to continue this conversation with you. I just want to make sure we get to this last caller here and not take everybody's time all night long. But I think that if you think you're ready with an answer, happy to take it. But if you want to take more time to research, this is not a condescending thing at all. Some questions take the research, and I'd rather you feel like, you know what, I want to give you the answer when I'm ready, than shit, I gave it too quickly and now I'm embarrassed. Like I don't want to set you up for that.
No, I actually really appreciate that, and I think I actually will take you up on that.
Okay.
I want to do some more research, and I want to make sure that what I'm believing is not, in fact, built on nothing. So I really appreciate that. I think I'll leave now and leave the rest of the time to the other caller. Just thank you so much for everything, and I actually do really appreciate your channel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I very, very much appreciate the call, and I'm glad we could have such a peaceful back and forth. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know what time it is where you are, but it's night for me, so I guess I'll tell you good night, afternoon, morning, whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So someone's asking in the live chat about how why it is that maybe each religion just has a piece of the truth. And the problem is that religions have contradictory truth. So if you're saying that one little piece is true, but the rest isn't true, but the one piece God gave them, first of all, you're talking about a God of chaos, which cool. Let's have a conversation about the God of the universe being Loki. I kind of am into that idea. Not literally, I don't believe that. But regarding, the claims made they would terminate each other. There are things about, in certain religions, you can't believe X and another religion will believe X. Or certain religions that call out other religions as, if we're true, one of our claims is these aren't true. Mormonism is very much that way. They believe Christians, for example, have some of the truth of Christianity, but the only religion that has the full truth is Mormonism, and therefore anybody saying they have the priesthood, like the Pope, is actually acting without zero authority. And then the Catholics say, no, the Pope has all priesthood authority. These are contradictory. They're self-eliminating. If you're saying that everything is in pieces, then you're just talking about a God that is chaotic. So then the question becomes, if you're saying all of them are correct because they all have a little piece, how do we go about identifying the piece that is correct and which pieces aren't? We need an objective system, a system that is as revealing as when someone makes the claim the stove is hot and you test it by putting your hand near or straight up touching it. So that's my response to that. What did Kyle, are you still around?
I think so.
Cool. All right. Well, let's take our last call of the night here, and then we will do super chats. People, don't leave. For the super chat portion, there's often more questions. There's often more thing. Don't. That part's good. But for now, we're going to get to this last call. Stephanie, you are on the air. Tell us about what you want to talk about. Hi.
Okay, so it's a little wild. But I was a Christian growing up, and I found, the Christian church, it was a Pentecostal church, the same time that I found witchcraft. Yay.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, and it was also, around the time that I discovered I was bisexual. It was a very fun time, middle school.
Okay.
So I guess now that I've walked away from the church and being Christian, and I've just fully embraced this whole witchcraft side of my life, there's a lot of witches with deities, and there's absolutely no real pressure to have a deity. I just feel like there is one because so many people have a deity, and because I had been in church for so long, I kind of feel weird not having a deity. Or if I claim a deity, knowing that I don't really believe it's true and just thinking that it's like an idea that I like.
Can you cast a spell and make me or Jimmy a deity?
Well, for the record, I don't want to, I already am aware that for a lot of witches, it's not as though they're talking about being Sabrina the teenage witch. They're talking about basically focusing mental energy, and to tell you the truth, I think a lot of the reason why people believe that it works is similar to why. No, I'm not calling you out or anything. I just want to go down my witchcraft hole now. The reason why they think it works, personally, I believe that it's the similar thing that makes people believe the law of attraction works, or prayer in general. This thing called confirmation bias, which we could go lengthy into. Now, are you saying you believe there is a deity, you just don't know who it is and how to identify it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it's kind of like I don't really think that there are any, but if I were to claim them and say that I worked with a deity just because they represent something that I care about, if I were to say, oh, I claim, I don't know, Hera because marriage is a really important thing in my life, I love my marriage, then that's kind of fake. That's hella fake, but then I could open up that whole side, and I don't know. I feel very conflicted about it.
I will say one thing I found I like a lot about a lot of pagans. It's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. A lot of pagans, a lot of witches. I don't mean to use the word pagan if that's offensive to what you are. But so, okay, more broadly, witches, pagans, people who practice who are Wiccan, heathens, like my friend Ocean. One of the things I love about them and where I find their spiritual beliefs significantly more palatable, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to debate. And, I'd probably give you a similar line of questions to how I gave the last caller. How do we figure out if it's true or not, if this is a faith-based belief? But one of the things I really like about these people I've met so far is they are very clear that their claims are belief claims and not knowledge claims. So, like with Mormons will say, I know Joseph Smith was a prophet. Whereas someone like Ocean will say, I say a prayer to Odin, or maybe that's a bad way to word it, and he'll probably lecture me for it later, but he doesn't claim that he has knowledge that Odin hears it, and he's entirely open to not being right about any of it, but his experience in practicing it has been significant to him, the community has been significant, so that's That's what I very much like about, if you don't make a knowledge claim, it's going to be so long before I feel like it's a priority. Like, I'd have to get through all of the religions that do before I was like, all right, now, you friggin' Wiccans. Fricka Wicca. That's my new, that's actually my new band. It's also the sound of a record being Fricka Wicca Wicca. Okay, that was terrible. A terrible joke,
and that's
Kyle.
Like another thing is because Wicca is like a whole religion in it of itself.
Yeah.
And there's like this whole like thing where you don't have to be Wiccan to be a witch, and not all witches are Wiccan. But then like as you get into more witches and like meeting more witches, they're all like, oh, like I worship the Norse gods or I worship the Greek gods, and I'm just kind of like, yikes, I don't know. What do I do?
I feel ya. Like I said, I would still have the same questions. At the end of the day, I'm not a fan of faith across the board. And so even when people like, I love God is gray, to absolute smithereens, I love God is gray. But one of the conversations we have is exclusively about faith, and I've explained to her and many others, the reason why I want to find out, even though your religion and the way you express it is palatable, and I'd happily live in a world filled with people like you, at the end of the day, if it's still based on faith, and it turns out across the board that faith is not a valid way to get to truth, then you still have the same bedrock as people with really radical ideas. So if we can eliminate faith-based belief, we can eliminate radicalism. So if someone can demonstrate to me that faith actually can get you to truth, and that it is the method you get to truth, not just by being lucky like a broken clock, that would change my perspective on it. But so far, it seems that anything can be believed on faith, therefore faith is not a method that people can believe. So that would be the deeper conversation I'd want to have. I'm not going to scrutinize you or your beliefs. You sound like a friggin' super nice person. And I knew that from the very moment you said, the way you said, hi. But Kyle, you're here too. Do you have Kyle? Do you have questions? Or Kyle? Honestly, I forgot because your picture is still. This is worse than normal. I often talk too much, but yeah.
The thing is, like, my connection's going in. Like, I'm getting like I got half of what was said there. But all I'm going to say is that I have faith that you will come to your own truth in this situation.
See, and then that's a muddying of the term, because the word faith traditionally has a spiritual meaning, and in fact, for Christians specifically, and this is what's been adopted essentially across the board, it's Hebrews 11:1, which is faith is confidence in what we hope for.
You call me contrarian. I have to play the role, Jimmy.
I gotcha. I know. But anyway, faith is is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance, which is the really important and troubling word, assurance about what we do not see. And when you take that into context of when the Bible is written, things you don't see aren't just germs. I don't have faith germs exist. In their world, all forces that were invisible forces were spiritual, supernatural forces. And so that's...
Well, I have faith that you're correct about this, Jimmy.
Thank you. I'm glad. What a useless thing that faith you have in me is. Why not just have confidence based on evidence?
Because you didn't program me for confidence.
That's perfect. Stephanie, anything you wanted to add before you go? Anything I said that I didn't realize I was being douchey about? Let me know.
No, you were fine. Everything was good. I think that it's honestly just kind of like leftover Christian guilt of being used to having, like, you know, you got a friend in Jesus and he's always with you, and like not believing in that anymore, and wanting that like constant friend all the time still. I think that's all that it is. I think it's just leftover.
Now, what would you think of an 8-hour loop of me just going fricka wicka wicka fricka wicka wicka fricka wicka wicka? Would that be something you'd be interested in? Would you pay 99 cents?
I would set it as my alarm. It would be my alarm in the morning.
Let me get a solid 15 seconds of it so people can record that real quick. Fricka wicka wicka fricka wicka wicka fricka wicka wicka fricka. I can't even do it. Y'all, that's all you got for the alarm. Thank you so much for calling, Stephanie. That was fun.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, we'll move into, so last chance over on my channel right now, because Kyle's channel, I think he's going to do his super chats on the Discord call he does after this. And so if you want those, you can send those over there. If you want it read on air now, you want the question answered, you can definitely call me, or you can definitely send a super chat right now, and it will be read out. And this is my like, y'all, this studio is expensive. Let's pay for it. That's what I'm doing right now. Eli McPherson, have you ever seen any Uber evangelism? My driver the other day tried to convert me. Oh, Uber, like the people, like the drivers, like the car service. Kyle, do you Uber or Lyft much? Kyle, did we lose you again? I think we lost Kyle. He might be back. So I haven't had. I had a taxi ride a couple years ago where one of the guys was actually talking to me about Islam. The closest to that I would have actually is using one of the Lyft scooters. Yep, I'm that guy. Using one of the Lyft scooters downtown in Denver, and there are these people who look like Tibetan monks, and they walk around with these bracelets, and they like get in your way and try to put the bracelet on your hand, and then they put it on your wrist, and then they show you a price chart and tell you how much money to give them, and then I just took it off and handed it back. But yeah, that was the closest I had. That is unfortunate, and to tell you the truth, I hope you gave them 1 star, because that's inappropriate. I hate this part of me because I don't want anyone to think I'm like snobby. But to tell you the truth, one of the reasons I don't take car services is because I don't want to be talked to by a stranger. And it's not like I don't think they're below me. It's literally, I don't accept rides from friends sometimes for the same reason. It's such a socially anxious thing. Like I feel like you feel rude. They think you're rude if you leave your headphones in or something. And I would probably double tip a person if the first question they ask is like, hey, would you like a silent trip or a buddy? And if I got to say, ooh, can I have a silent trip? I would double tip that person. That would be perfect. Let's see. Kyle, did you make it back? Did he message me? Rebooting, browser crashed. Okay, he'll be back. By the way, I am going to be looking at my, I'll be looking at my social media, my DMs, all those things, Instagram and Twitter for people tagging me in goth pics, because I just love me some goths. If you weren't watching earlier, I feel like that came out as like a really kind of like sexual thing, and it wasn't. It's I presume I'd be tagged in very platonic, not the word I was looking for, things that you can put on Twitter. Oh, you can post anything on Twitter, can't you? Anyway, let's just move on. Saber8M says, the AI is doing pretty good. I can't stay long, though. Saber8M, you are missed. Let's see. Okay, so Rachel asked, did you hear about McRae game? Love the show. And I thought this was about a person I know whose last name is McRae, but it says McCrae. I don't know what that is. I presume you're not talking about the same thing. Maybe you are and you're being cheeky. I don't know. But thank you. Love the show. I love this show too. The Clyde 950 says, have some money. Kathleen said, and thank you, Clyde. I'll take it. Kathleen, your content was a gateway to my becoming a more open-minded, better person. I can't thank you enough. Kathleen, you did the work. I'm really, really glad I could be a part of your journey, but don't thank yourself. Thank yourself first. Let's see here. I'm waiting for Kyle to get back for some of these questions because I want his input on some of these, but I don't know if he's going to make it back in. He said his computer was rebooting. Do you think Trump will have his own Godwin's Law? As in, people will compare him to Trump? Yeah, I do, because Trump is, I talked to my dad about this. Like, my dad was talking about, like, you know, he's just going to be an embarrassing blip for conservatives, and years from now we'll look back. And I'm like, no, you don't get that. He has the highest approval rating of, like, any Republican president ever. Like, you all have embraced him and said, this is our guy, and treated him like a god. Frankly, I think Donald Trump is their new Reagan. I think that Republicans in the future will be held to the standard of how Trump-esque is he. I hope that's not the case, but I think that's what's going to happen. Also, I think that there are lots of legitimate, as far as Godwin's Law goes, I think there's actually lots of legitimate reasons to compare Donald Trump to Hitler, but that's just me personally. Lindsay says, love y'all's show. This has helped me so much. Due to purity culture, I've been struggling with self-worth for years. I still struggle with things like accepting affection from partners. Any advice on moving past this? Therapy, honestly, I don't want to, I feel like a lot of people would say, like, you know, just push through it and just do it and all of that. Well, let me hang up this Skype call because that's just adding noise to this that doesn't need to be there. I think there's a lot of people that would just tell you, like, you just have to put up with it and deal with it. I would recommend having an actual plan and setting up and I will tell you, I'm an extremely affectionate person, and this is actually why I talk about, like, open communication, making sure you're compatible with a partner, because I would have a hard time having a partner who couldn't accept my affection. Basically, my forms of exception, I love making out, not like good kissing, not like tongue, not too much tongue, just little bits of introduction. I love kissing. I love in private. I'm not a big fan of PDA, but, you know, even little things like little touches. I love when a person's walking behind me and they just like trail their finger along my shoulders or something as they walk by, literally just to say, like, I'm going about my day, but I want you to understand that I know you're in my space. And then my other form of affection is that I'm very much a gift giver. Let's see. I accidentally lost the space here. Corrupted Rhapsody says, I hope this doesn't make me seem impatient, but I was curious as to how often you read emails. I sent one to you, and I've been overly anxious since. So I tried it. The honest truth is, if it's really important, send it again, because I get hundreds a week. So how often do I check? I probably read a few emails every day. Between all of my email accounts, between all of my DM accounts, Twitter, Instagram, even the Facebook page that I totally neglect, DMs on Discord, I get hundreds to thousands of messages, hundreds at least a week, and it's thousands a month. And so some things just fall under, fall off the radar. So that's the honest answer. I do try to answer as many as I can, but it takes a whole lot. Let's see here. Shoot, I lost it. Mr. Professor Patrick says, 3 years ago, a man started following me and my boyfriend. He called us faggot, confronted us twice. He came to us again. I pushed him and he punched me. We had a short fight. What can I do about it? This was in Rio, Brazil. Unfortunately, I don't know, because I don't know what the laws are there. If you can, report it to the police. I know that things are getting extremely conservative there. I would definitely recommend handling it by talking about it, finding communities, talking about it in communities if you have therapy, because that does leave a thing with you. I have been in fist fights myself over essentially the exact same thing. It's been a little while since the last one. There was also an instance where my roommate and I, not my boyfriend, my roommate and I were walking in downtown Denver. This was actually maybe a couple years ago, in the same place I was actually at a convention just a couple weeks ago, same hotel. And we were walking out, we were standing next to each other and laughing about something, and this guy, clearly drunk, starts marching toward us, and then he puts his shoulders up like this, leans forward and tries to plow through us. And we just pretty simply sidestepped because we weren't drunk and he wasn't going as fast as he thought he was going. And he, after he got past us, looked back and said, "Watch out, faggots," which, first of all, I don't know how he clocked me because I am queer, but my roommate is not. And I was ready. I was ready to throw down. But you know, I always let them take. I'm anti-violence. If somebody takes a swing at me, though, I'm 6'2", and now I'm 230 pounds. Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready. I don't condone violence. However, if somebody attacks you and you can defend yourself, you absolutely should. Sony Q93, and I mean, try. I feel like that had the implication of if you can't defend yourself, don't. I mean, in that scenario, scream. Apparently my Windows was trying to force install an update, so depending on where you are, I may need a new link here in a sec. Okay, Kyle's trying to get in. Sonic 93 or Sonic 93 or Sony Q93. Hey, Jimmy, just wanted to know your opinion on the human rights campaign. Unless you're saying that something controversial happened, I like them. They're a big LGBTQ plus human rights advocacy group. But if something controversial happens, I don't have an opinion on that. I know that they've been reporting on the death of trans people in America this year, and I think that's also something that's important because more people need to know about that. Equestrium wrote, please give my best to your beautiful, precious doggo. I love her so much. I love Sammy so much too. She is beautiful and precious and wonderful. Angel and saint worship equals polytheistic Catholics. It's an interesting conversation and question to have, and kinda, yeah. And I'm actually going to be having this discussion about Mormonism, because Mormons are polytheistic, but they claim not to be. They say they're monotheistic because they believe in God, but there's a Godhead, and that has Jesus and the Holy Ghost. But they also believe that God had his own God, and that there are multiple gods in existence. And there's lots of polytheistic religions that have the same claim. We have the one God, that's the one that's actually important to us. But we acknowledge the existence of many other gods, and that still qualifies as polytheistic. Meredith Richardson, an impression of Stewie singing part of Lizzo's Boys. I don't know that song, so I could do white shirt, now red, my bloody nose creeping. You're on your tippy toe, thinking around like no one knows. Think you're so criminal. That's the best I can do. I don't know what Lizzo's Boys is, but I'll do Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. Do you know, I don't think this is actually my best day. I haven't been practicing this impression much lately. Yeah, there you go. That's the one you got. I was thinking about, on Instagram one day, I almost did Bad Guy as if it was sang by Josh Groban, something like, so you're a tough guy, like it really rough guy, but I got nervous and didn't. Let's see. I think it's hilarious that you have opened my third eye, even if you don't believe that. Wait, neither do I. What do I believe, love? I don't believe in the third eye either. I do believe that people can achieve a certain level of not spiritual, but sort of a heightened sense of empathy and awareness and situational awareness, environmental awareness, and that can feel like you've been enlightened, and I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing. What is your favorite book? So usually I answer the book Nothing to Envy. It's basically love stories out of, it sounds really corny coming from me, but it's basically love stories out of North Korea, but I think lately it's actually 1984. Alexandra De Freitas, who I think was my goth friend from earlier, wrote Fricka Wicca Wicca. Well, they wrote Fricka Wicca. Hannah Clara says, the witchy caller could look at naturalistic paganism, encompasses ritual and spells and pantheons without requiring belief in the supernatural. That's very interesting. I think I'd want to know more about that as well. Let's see. Johan Roderick, Godzilla, that was for Dinobotful. I don't know what that means at all. Hannah Monahan says, thank you for helping me on the call. Any ideas to get my mom trying to use essential oils and God to cure depression? Thank you. Ask her to find a single study that is peer-reviewed that suggests that can cure anything, let alone depression. And I would impress upon her the seriousness of if she insists on this and it doesn't work. And I'd say try the same thing, learn how to ask the questions by watching street epistemology videos. P.S. Our chat is cooler, non-sec. That was from Johan Roderick, trying to recruit. Camper Girl, want to thank you for your channel and videos. Kyle, did we ever get you back? Nope. Rachel, McRae Conversion Therapy founder came out as gay. Okay, a lot of people have been telling me about that. That's what you were talking about earlier. I still need to research it. I will definitely report on it soon. Probably on my other channel, but maybe on the main one. If you don't know, my other channel is called, what is my other channel called? Jimmy Snow, What Do You Know? Yuhan says, JK, Jimmy's chat is rad. I appreciate that. Camper Girl, want to thank you for your channel and your videos. Thank you. Eli McPherson, I just moved from Colorado and had to give up my car. I missed Denver. I live in Colorado now, so you left a lot of cool stuff behind. I'm not trying to rub it in. Mike Mick wrote, I meant the longer convo is, he will be in it. Okay, I think I missed the context of when you wrote that. Corrupted Rhapsody, would it be horrible of me to ask if you could read it on air if I resent the email? Is there a better way to send a large message? So I'm not going to promise that I'm going to read anything on air. If there are things I do decide to read on air, but I certainly, it wouldn't be right of me to promise ahead of time because I don't know necessarily what it is. Would it be hard? Now, if it's a typo and you're asking me if it's horrible for you to ask me not to read it on air, that's totally fine. But I definitely don't promise ahead of time that I'm going to read things on air. Johan Roderick, hashtag I stand with Rachel Oates. So do I. And more will come regarding that. But while on the topic, abuse isn't cool. And bullying is not cool. And I don't really care who you are or what you stand for unless you are literally talking about like actual war. I can't think of a time where bullying is cool, especially bullying somebody who is begging to be left alone. And yeah, so Rachel Oates is a friend of mine, somebody I love and care about very much. I'm not going to rehash at this moment what happened recently, but there will be some information accessible to all here in the near future. But basically, she was bullied by somebody she shouldn't have been bullied by, somebody who is an activist on the same side as me on an issue, but has just taken things absolutely too far. But again, we'll talk about that more lately, and I'm positive the person will probably make an entire episode about this tiny little thing I've just said. Multicolor Pixie wrote, can I get a happy birthday, please? First of, like, such a happy birthday. First of all, September, what a nice time to have a birthday. Weather's often good, at least if you're in the United States. I love your hair. And seriously, to the happiest of birthdays. All right. Thank you all so much for coming, for joining. I extend to you a very fond farewell from myself and Kyle, who did not make it back in time, but that's okay. I am looking forward to seeing all of the goths on Twitter and Instagram. Should be a very exciting time. And I'm probably going to, I have a big day tomorrow as far as what I'm going to be recording and filming. It'll be something a lot of people won't care about. It's going to be responding to some stuff that needs to be responded to. It'll probably come out tomorrow. This won't be one that there's a reason why I'm not going to send it to patrons first, but all the other videos will be out there. So that's something to look forward to. I'll be back, obviously, this week on Dear Mr. Atheist, and then every day, Monday through Friday, I will be on Jimmy Snow, What Do You Know? Make sure you go and you subscribe over there. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been amazing. It's been a great time. You're all lovely people, and I adore you to absolute pieces. And again, on Kyle's behalf, the fondest of farewells. Love you. Bye.